This was a drawing I did yesterday, and it was I suppose most of it's done with one of these. Don't ask. Oh look, there's a name on it. Never seen. It just says neutral. I don't know what that means. And I'm actually putting. I've obviously cut it off, sharpened it off, that one. They're slightly different colours as well. I don't know if that means anything. Anyway, so that was done with these things, mainly because I wanted it to be black, and it was the this idea of because I was talking about the background being the foreground and vice versa, and everything's connected and tonally and everything else, and the mood of the face is amplified by the location, the context, and so on and so forth. So it's not just a head floating around on a white background. I've amplified the emotion by manipulating and creating atmosphere in the background. And as I said, that was kind of the theme of things yesterday. In fact, it has been apart from the beards the other day, it has been for a while now. This more about the atmosphere than the actual physical accuracy of everything and replication and stuff. So it's just about atmosphere. It's funny that it's not really. It looks a lot better on here than it does when I take a picture with the camera, the phone. For some reason, all the midtones go. It turns it into a very high resolution black and white image. So even the tones become not continuous. The biggest problem of all digital photography is it's never going to be continuous. But you just have to keep upping the resolution in order to give the impression of continuous tone. But obviously phones don't have that kind of capacity. Anyway, so I'm going to do another one like that one. This lady here, similar feel, similar vibe. Again, it's about the atmosphere. You see, it just feels in a certain way. It's the light, obviously, everything else, but there is this slight haze and the sort of detail in places and not in others. So yeah, which is a contrast to the beards. The beards were really like this thing. So having this atmosphere in this, but it's not. That's just a fierce face, isn't it? That's all it is. But the contrast between this and the one from yesterday, for instance, there's a completely different vibe to these two. Quite like this the atmospheric thing. As much as I like these vibrant and energetic and fierce executions. But I think that's probably as much about execution as what the other one is, but it's just this different kind of execution. So, I'm going to do this lady. They don't necessarily take, they're not quick. These are not, this approach, because really, you're talking about minuscule things. When I'm lots of stuff that you think is just like part and part, but I actually deliberately do all this sort of thing, and then deliberately make tiny adjustments to the tone. So, and same with the hair on that side. It's easy to make it black on both sides, but it's not. It's the fact that it's that brown, which is grey on the obviously monochrome, and it's those tiny adjustments, and they take time. You watch anybody working on something like that, it takes time, and sometimes you can't even see what they're doing. It's that sort of intense. But as I said, this I'm going to try and see if I can get this something like without spending hours on it. Let me just get things in the right place. I need to just tilt this a little bit, not much, but just enough to get a bit higher. The more I've done these, and I've talked about setup lots of times, but it's so critical for me to get that, for that line to be if my arm now is as level as you can imagine from my shoulder. It's so important that I have the paper in line with that my shoulder, and if I was stood up, it'd be the same thing. Because I just, I was looking at it then, I was thinking, is that the same? So the problem is, if I haven't got that, I'm looking down even ever so slightly, because I've got this thing of when I draw things, for some reason, I seem to get things I'm not even conscious of doing. So if I'm not careful, if it isn't exactly where things should be, it will definitely show in the drawing. It's something that I've noticed before about, and I think it's to do with I'm not conscious of what I'm doing, but I've noticed before that I do capture things that I wasn't aware of capturing. That I'm looking at things that are well, I'm looking but not looking. I think that's probably the I was thinking about this the other day about the habitual thing. I'm probably doing it now as well. I did that podcast the other day, and they said, I forget what they called it now. Because I was talking about sometimes it feels as though I'm just talking and watching somebody draw, and she called it something. I can't remember what it was now. Kind of an outer body-ish thing. It was a phrase that apparently is what happens. I'm just trying to get it to be the right size at the moment, so not too worried about whether things are right or not. I'm just trying to get the size of things right, that's all. think they're in the right place now. I think I can be a bit more deliberate with things. I think one of the things about the atmospheric thing, it's I paint outside or draw outside the lines all the time, and that is part of the the logic behind it. Is it's just simply the face, the head should not be floating. It should look like it belongs, and that in a way is the starting of this kind of atmospheric thing. So it's the because I looked at this reference and it said this is not so much, but on this one there's definitely a hard, or it seems to be a hard line like down the side of the hair, but the softness of this thing and it interferes with it, and I was thinking when I got so far with this, I thought, I'm just going to smudge it all over and just make the thing in a kind of contemporary portrait kind of way, and people do that, don't they? They sort of scrape across it and things. But I thought, no, I'm going to just make it. I'm going to make it look like it belongs without the need to, deconstruct or destroy the surface edges in a way, in order to make it feel like it belonged to something. So that was the consciousness thing that came when I got to a certain point with this. That how do I make it look like it belongs in its environment? And this is, I suppose, the edge management thing. But sometimes there are highlights that bleed off, and sometimes there are sort of fine hairs that just create that softening of those edges. So it was just a thing when I was doing it. I thought that because of the atmosphere thing, and I thought, if it looks like it's integral to the background, part of the background, and the atmosphere of the general atmosphere, like this one, is quite a hazy kind of slightly fuzzy and out of focus type of feel about it. Then really, I want to be amplifying that. I want to be exaggerating that. think the other thing about this as well is that somebody said this to me the other day about the light thing. I think it's probably true that I just tend to focus on the light of things. And the way that light defines the shapes, which is why I focus on drawing with tones as opposed to trying to put lines around shapes. So I'm honing in on the light from the beginning, really, rather than applying tone further down the road to increase or create the sense of light. I'm drawing the light to start with. That's probably closest to the truth that I've been recently. When someone said that I draw, they say that I draw light. I think that's probably what I'm drawing. The shapes and things, but it's the light. I'm drawing it. I'm not trying to colour it in later. I'm actually just drawing the light initially, which is probably why as you can see, it's sort of the face tends to reveal itself early on, which because it's light reveals form, and if I focus on the light to start with, then it reveals the form quicker or sooner. I'm going to try and do it all with this piece of charcoal rather than switching to the darker one. I don't feel as this warrants the density of the other one did. I think it was the t-shirt she got on that was the the thing I wanted to capture. Probably a little less detail as well. I didn't really want it to be such a precise thing. Something a little bit more like a mass. But anyway, that's what it turned out like. So that's what it is. there comes a point when I'm with this charcoal that after, you know, I get past the darker tones and I want to make it darker, and it will start to break down, and which is probably why I switched to the you know, the surface. It's just a cheap paper, but it will break down, and it's probably why I resorted to using the charcoal pencils. I think the charcoal pencils. I know they've got to be. There's no markings on them or anything, but they're pretty much. If not, they're really soft graphite. Put it that way. But I think and since they're both different. The nearest thing got is neutral on there. I can only assume that they are, you know, compressed, varying degrees of compressed charcoal. I'm going to I just want to knock this back here a bit. I'm going to use the cotton bud just to take that out. Yeah, a bit too dark on that side. It was throwing things. I think gradually on the previous one, the side of the mouth, the side of the head was. I managed to find it gradually. It wasn't really as a lot of these things are for me. I tend to tweak and refine, and gradually I find what I'm trying to capture. I mean, some of the things when I don't really, when they're not important, you know, this bit kind of thing, they pretty much go in straight away, which is weird because it's not important. You think it wouldn't work, but there's no, I've got no pressure on that, I suppose, for it to be accurate, and it just drops in. Yeah, that's good though. That's working well. So watch out for these darks. It's dark on her chin like that, but not. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to now put the the background in a little bit more deliberate, so I can sort these edges out, sort this relationship of the things, you know. Yeah, I said about the effect of the background and creating the atmosphere. I think what part of this is, you know, the classic photographic background that was on a roll. I remember we used to buy them from as part of you know, a roll backdrop. They've got that slightly out of lots of colours, but one colour and it's out of focus. I think that as part of the cumulative background effect, you know, the light and dark thing. So we get these to be, get rid of these lines around things. There's this highlight on her nose is not good with this because she hasn't got, there isn't a highlight, it's just a lighter bit. So yeah, like that. Kill that. Yeah, it's raining if you can hear it. But I think we've now, this is the rainy season in Yorkshire. For the last 5 days, it's just rained. So, and the water board, the local water authority, Yorkshire Water, keeps putting adverts out and saying, despite the fact that we've had lots of rain, please don't use your hose pipes. Mainly because they're a bit leaky, shall we say. Which is a bit naughty, really, isn't it? You know, that they are able to keep the systems watertight, so to speak, instead of letting them leak everywhere. They keep charging loads of money though. Still, they doubled our water bill last bill that we had, for the year, doubled it, just like that. There's no we apologise or anything like that, just doubled it. Which it's kind of the thing in the UK at the moment. The electricity bills will be going up soon, and they're not good. So the bit that I'm doing now, which I shouldn't really be doing, is to build up the the subtleties of the tones and things. But I'm not going to do it really because I just want to get the overall feeling right, and then I'll worry about the details on the face, the subtleties of the tones and things. Let's just put this in, and then I'll these take a bit longer, obviously. You can tell. It's just it's not the explosive kind of approach, really. That's not it needs a little bit more care. So, and I'll probably, once we're done with this, I'll probably spend another hour or two just fixing the subtleties. You see this here, it's just slightly too dark. It just needs either softening off. You can see it, can't you? You can see there's no twisting of the tones, the shaping of the face. It needs to be just a little bit lighter, not too much though. That's the problem with it. It's only a little, to take the surface of it off. You see how much better that is just by doing that. How that's just suddenly made the shape of the face. Yeah. But like I say, that kind of thing, those kind of tweaks are something that I tend to leave to the end, because otherwise I'll be bogged down. I saw somebody this morning talking about getting bogged down by detail. Drawing, as you've seen with this, it's a common sense, quite a practical thing. You start by figuring out where everything is, and people will talk about one anchor, and that's the comparative measurement thing. When there are many anchors, there are many points at which the shapes can be anchored to the face. The shapes that define the objects, the elements of the face. There's many points that there can be more than one. And if you focus on one anchor and then work to that one anchor, you're assuming that anchor's right. So you're better off if you say, there's one anchor, there's another anchor, there's another anchor, there's another anchor, there's another anchor. And all those anchors are anchored to each other, if you like. And then you attach the shapes to those anchors, knowing that those anchors are far enough apart. The top to the bottom of the face, for instance, would be an anchor. Rather than just having one anchor and working to that, it's great if you're well practiced in that way of doing things, a comparative measurement thing. But it's practice. You've got to keep doing it to understand, to be able to see. Whereas if you've got multiple anchors, this is all part of training your observation. If you've got multiple anchors, they all relate to each other. You're training yourself to see distances and comparative sizes, relationships, and that training, that thing of being able to see with accuracy, works with everything. So its tones and its colour and everything else all rely on you being able to see with accuracy. So when you start, and as I said, this guy was talking about getting bogged down with detail. Once you've got things in the right place, I think the detail is overrated. It's never. It's just it's an excuse to succeed, I suppose. You can hide in the detail. It can be badly drawn but highly detailed, and you can't fix a bad drawing with detail, but you can get some other way to fixing it. But the detail thing is kind of a trap. And if you work, see, this is back to the anchor, the solitary anchors. If you're working that way, you'll tend to think in that way, that you'll start working the eye up, or you'll work the ear up, or whatever. When really everything wants to be worked up all at once. It's not just a case of just doing one thing and then comparing it to that. It is doing everything all at once. Drawing faces is all about drawing everything all at once. I'm just going to put some more tone on down here, and then we'll sort out the balance of things. You see, the other thing about it, what I like about this sort of everything all at once progressive thing, is that you and finding the tones progressively, is that you can see the balance of the tones. I mean, first of all, it's there's the shapes are defined by tones, and it's a good way to evolve the tonal aspect of it, rather than sort of dipping in, doing it at the end when you think you've got everything in the right place, and then sort of suddenly colouring it in. Doing them progressively, doing the tonal aspects, or applying the tones progressively. You can, like it's happening now, you can almost stop working on it when everything feels in the right place. You're not tied to any particular finish. Particularly if it's like this, where what matters is the face and not the body. That kind of hierarchy of importance. That's another big thing for me. I think that the hierarchy of the elements and their relationships and their importance and their the way that they pull the focus. This is the thing about the atmosphere as well. That atmosphere is about understanding the way that people see or trying to create the atmosphere, create the mood or the feeling. But that's again a kind of a progressive thing. This is you can see what I'm doing now with the background. It's all about this. You see how there's a feeling that there's a light in the room, that kind of thing. But working progressively, applying the tones progressively, is for me it's a great way of learning to judge when something's done or not, when it feels right or not. Because if you're doing piecemeal, colouring things in piecemeal, applying the tones one element at a time, one shape at a time, you don't have that. It's not done till everything's done, kind of thing, and that's a problem. And I think that probably is a lot of people's problem when drawing things like this. Maybe anything. And what happens with that is the good people, the people that do it really well, the people that can do the detail, they tend to prevail in that with that approach, because it's about everything all at once, or everything being up to the same level of detail, the same level of finish. But if you look at, say, a zone or a sergeant, and you look at the hierarchy of importance within the drawings, within the paintings, there is an particularly if you look at, say, sergeant's hair. See if I find one, and you'll see that. I don't know if there's any in this, but we'll see. You'll see that he relegates certain components of it, which is good. I mean, that's obviously he's the master, but if I can find any. I don't find any of his charcoals. I think his charcoals are probably the best example of when I can get past the draftsmanship. I mean, the draftsmanship is just like stunning, out of this world. But let's just get past that and just see how he addresses the hierarchy of importance in terms of the way that he draws. And I can't find any. There's quite a few. He's got women with a lot of hair when he was doing the portraits, and he would just make a few marks to indicate the hair, because the hair is not that important. But that's him drawing all at once. It's not going to bring the eyes up to detail and then bring the hair up to detail, and all that, which is probably how most people will draw anyway. No, there aren't any. I've got a book here. I'm just flicking through the pages, so I apologise for not showing you what I'm looking at. I'm just flicking through, but none of them are not illustrating what I'm trying to get across, which is this thing of the the addressing the hierarchy of the you know the thing. And you can see now really with this, it has got the atmosphere. It's got everything that that the you know I would want from it. It feels right, even though things aren't quite finished, and you know there's all this sort of thing here, and there's bits and bobs that need addressing. The face is a bit too dark on that side, and you know it goes on. It can go on, but it's got the right atmosphere. That's the thing. Regardless of all those components, regardless of those things that need addressing. And that, as I said, is the thing about working progressively across the face. You can choose if this is what I'm trying to, you know, convey, I'm responding to. Then it's done. Stop. You know, there's nothing to say. You have to go. Oh, I'm going to make it really detailed. I'm going to make this detailed, or I'm going to make that detailed, and I'm going to make this equally detailed. Nothing is. It's just if it feels right. That's the thing. If the thing feels right, you're done. This is not an exercise in how clever I am, or you know, look how detailed I can be, and all the rest of it. There's nothing. It's not about that. It can never be about that, because you can never be too detailed and never be too clever. You know, it can't be just about that, can it? Because you'd be on a treadmill. That's the thing that I think is probably the one thing I fear the most, is that the treadmill of production. You know, that's why I don't talk about process and stuff like that. The only process I've got, as I say, find the you know many anchors on the face, attach the shapes to those anchors using tones, and then just develop the tones all at once. By the way. That's it. That's my process, if you like. It's not. It's just my approach to drawing. It's a much more simplistic way of doing it than most. But it just works for me, as you can see. Right. I'm going to leave it at that. I will fix a few of the tonal imbalances. You see that there is too dark, because it doesn't. It's supposed to be as dark as that bit there. There's just an imbalance of things, and I'll bring up the tones to fix those sort of things. But apart from that, it's got more or less the atmosphere, the feel of it. So just you know sort of things like that which shouldn't be there, and I'll finish it off, and I'll stick it on the socials. You'll see it on the socials.